Albemarle region in northeast North Carolina enjoys a rich and diverse agricultural heritage. From livestock to truck crops, row crops to small greens, and value-added agriculture like wine and forest products, a sampling can be found throughout our region. As you enjoy the stories of agriculture from a small selection of operations in Camden, Currituck, and Pasquotank counties, we invite you to reflect on agriculture as it was, ponder what it is, and wonder at what it will become.
I'm Manly West, live in Currituck, Cedar Crest Plantation. I grew up on a farm that's been in our family since before the Revolutionary War. I've been told it probably was a larger plantation. It was passed to me by my grandmother, Lily Matthias West. We recently named our farm for estate planning purposes. There used to be a lot of cedar trees, and our farm sits on somewhat of a hill for Currituck, so we came up with the name Cedar Crest Plantation. I can remember as a child a large yard that had sheep and hogs. The sheep were mainly to keep the grass down, and the hogs were for food. My dad, Manly West, was what I would consider a truck farmer. He raised mostly vegetables, cabbage, sweet potatoes, white potatoes, snap beans, pumpkins, watermelons. He said the only reason he raised watermelons was because he loved to eat them. We also raised some peanuts and cotton, wheat and soybeans. Didn't really raise much corn back then. I can remember one year he had about 35 acres of watermelon, which was a lot for us. And he had a contract to deliver watermelons to a buyer up in Canada, and they wanted watermelons between 17 and 22 pounds. And the ones that were over or under, I sold in the front yard of our house for 10 cents a piece, 11 for $1. One day this realtor from Norfolk came by and told me he would buy all the watermelons that I could put in his car. He had a pretty big sized Cadillac. He told me to stop after I put 55 watermelons in there. He gave me $5, and that was a lot of money for back then. Farming is not as dependable as a source of income. And with our small farm, my dad told me I needed to find another source of income, make a living. And he also urged me to seek other employment. So I went to work for civil service and worked there for about 38 years until I was able to retire. I farmed all of that time. And I don't think farmers ever retire, they just get tired. I had to change the crops that we raised in order to accommodate both jobs, so we switched to corn, wheat, and soybeans. I don't have to tell you that farming has changed here in Currituck through the years, from the crops that we raised to the number of farmers that are still farming in Currituck, and the size of their operations, even the equipment that they use to harvest the crops have changed. But now, not only are the tractors and combines air conditioned, they drive themselves with aids, GPS, and auto steer. Farming has a lot of uncertainties, with everything dependent upon the Lord, especially the weather. Through the years, we have been fortunate enough to add some acreage to our farm, and hopefully my son Caleb will be able to continue farming if he so desires.
All right, my name is Sidney P. Garrett. I'm born and raised in northeast North Carolina, Currituck County. My great-great-great-great-great-grandfather, Jonathan Garrett, in 1764 left a farm and livestock to his heirs. A few great-grandfathers later, Vernon Paul Garrett Sr. decided chickens were the answer. One of the many buildings he built was a 5-story chicken house. During the 40s and 50s, he took eggs and chickens to Norfolk City Market. At the height of the operation, Vernon was producing approximately 1 million broilers per year. Sidney P.D. Garrett, me, Patrick Doyle, started farming in 1969, raising corn, wheat, soybeans, barley, cotton, and children. The present-day farm was established in 1853 and is 1,000 acres farm and woodland. In my opinion, the future of agriculture is directly related to research through the NC State University and the passing of knowledge through the NC State University Cooperative Extension. Seed and pesticide companies also play a major role. In conclusion, It is my opinion we must save our soil. Praise Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, and God bless the United States of America. In addition, I wanted to say that no matter what year the West got here, the Garretts were here 1 year before that.
I'm John Wright. I'm the manager at Sanctuary Vineyards.
Tom Wright, and I'm just fifth generation Wright, been here from the earlier crowd, and I work at the cotton gin and work on the farm along with my brother, Jerry Wright, who runs the farm. And we're just a proud another generation of Wrights that have been here for quite a few years on the farm. Originally, they would be doing a lot of truck crops, sweet potatoes. In fact, the barn overside on the other side of the grain bins is, kind of insulated and finished inside with a siding. And I can see now the old kerosene stove in there where they kept some heat in there so they could cure the sweet potatoes. And then, boy, they always had to have some peanuts. And then the spring, could they hit on them string beans? And then eventually with the cannery, they did the machine beans. And then I can remember clearly out here at the warehouse, like on a big day in August, maybe 20, 30 trucks loading watermelons, off of sandier ground, which would have been the old remnant barrier island, sandbars where they can get them higher watermelons on that sand. And slowly, we migrated on into June. There'd be potatoes, always crew here running potatoes, red potatoes, and they bagged them. And these potatoes went north into all these urban markets. And then we shifted in the 60s into the 70s in the grain market and the Russians. And, corn went really high and everybody just sort of shifted into grain production, a little less vegetables, mechanized with machinery, could pick more, less people could do more. You see now a rebirth in Lower Currituck of a lot of folks. With the economy not being as robust, a lot of folks, growing tomatoes, growing beans, growing watermelons, and using aquaculture, to grow things and give it water that we couldn't in the past. And I think that's all very interesting. Combine that with people's care about where food comes from and these visitors that we have each week that patronize folks that done, just a wonderful job and getting them to stop, and all that kind of blends and works together to keep people on the land.
So we started the vineyard in 2002. Previously, we just had some backyard vines on the farm and didn't have any commercial viticulture. We started with just 2 acres, a mixture of hybrids and vinifera, and one of those plantings still exists. In the time since then, we've added about 19 more acres, so we're at almost 20 acres now total. The majority of the plantings are vinifera, so they're European grapevines, and they're well suited to sandy, well-drained soil, so we've made sure to put them on sites like this, and the soils in Lower Currituck. So Lower Currituck is a good spot for grapes, as well as Mid-Currituck on these sand ridges and Knott's Island. Also good sites for viticulture here. And so we've expanded over the last 12 years now to 20 acres, and we may add more, but it's a work in progress.
My name is Wilson Jones. I'm with J.W. Jones Lumber Company here in Elizabeth City. This is my son, Stephen Jones, and he's the manager, head honcho of this operation now, and I can vouch for the younger generation can sure outdo the older. I grew up around this mill here. My dad started it back in '39, and it's been a running operation ever since. Not like it is today, but like it was when it started off, like a little ground mill. And if you look out back of me or look at the landmass this mill covers, used to, it was just about maybe 50 yards off the road. And I remember it being built, and and you walk out down a path, or you walk into the yard, or you step off of the grounds, you see a rattlesnake or so. This place was loaded with rattlesnakes. Back of us, it's a road back there now, and this is all high ground now, but back then it was a dismal swamp. That's part of the swamp. So you looked how it's improved, just like farmland has around in our area. A lot more farmland now than it was back then, and land taken in and farmed.
But from a farmer's point of view, the world economy has changed, and how many farmers are now exporting their product that they weren't doing back in the 80s. They weren't doing, in other times, and whatever the product is, because I know lumber, I do not know grain or anything else. But that's just been, and our business is the same. We ship out of our hardwood mill in Roper, about 60 to 65% of the production is going overseas. It expands your marketplace by tenfold. And I think that's the same thing from the farmer's perspective. Yeah. They have had to have benefited from that, at least in our area here. But I think it's like that everywhere.
Okay, my name's Wesley Moore. This is my daughter Jessica Burgess. We've Moore Seed Farms, and we've been farming in this area since about the mid-1920s. My father and grandfather before me farmed here. All right, the Moores came in from Clemens County in sometime in the 1600s. Traced my family history back to the late 1700s in Clemens County. Then my great-grandfather moved over here to Elizabeth City, Pasquotank County, sometime in the 1920s, and been cleaning and selling seeds since the late 60s at this location. Some of the crops we've had in the past have been cabbage, potatoes, snap beans, field peas, carrots, beets, oats, barley, triticale, sunflowers. The current crops are corn, wheat, soybeans, and rapeseed. In 1960, my father won second place in the state in corn yield contest and got in the 100 bushel an acre club. And now we're trying to get into 300 bushel an acre club. So things have changed quite a bit.
Hi, I'm John Spence, and my wife and I, Debbie, live in the Newland area and operate a farm in northern Pasquotank and Camden counties. I've been farming since 1975. My family's been involved in farming since the early 1800s.
One of my first experiences I had in farming was riding a mule to the field so that my father could run hoe drains. By the time I could operate a tractor, I drove a tractor similar to this John Deere A, equipped with a PTO-driven grain plow. I thought I was really doing something then. This tractor was approximately 29 horsepower. It came equipped with RMP steering, real manpower. In comparison, the latest tractor on the farm is a 290 horsepower case equipped with RTK auto guidance, and this tractor can nearly drive itself. Corn, soybeans, and wheat are the primary crops currently grown on the farm, although I also produce cotton from 1992 until 2012. Agriculture is very challenging in that no two growing seasons are the same. We face adverse weather conditions at some point in each growing season, ranging from too much moisture to near drought conditions, too cold to extreme heat. High humidity in our region is also a concern, as this increases the chances of yield-robbing disease pressure on our growing crops. Other challenges we face are weed pressure. As I had to dust off my trusty old 60s vintage hoe again this year, resistant palmer had shown up on the farm. We will have to change our weed control program to deal with this new threat, but I'm confident that the farmer, with help from the research and extension personnel, will find a solution. Of course, prices that we receive have a huge impact on the bottom line. I strive to do the very best that I can with timely planting, spraying, harvesting, using best management practices for weed and pest control, but the bottom line is still determined mostly by weather conditions, and that I have little control over. I first became involved in farming. There were approximately 22 or more families up here that were involved in actively farming. And today there are about 8 families that receive their income from farm production. And I fully expect that trend to continue. Of course, over time, The farms have grown larger and more productive due to better equipment and technologies, and total production has increased off the farm. What does the future hold for agriculture? I see the graying of the farmer as a challenge for the future. I can easily visualize the leap from driver-operated auto-steer equipment to robotic-operated ones. Perhaps the farmer of the future will operate the equipment from his office or the cab of his pickup with a minimum number of employees, but I believe it will be a challenge to find ways to make farming attractive and affordable so that the future generation will want to remain in the business.
Okay, I'm Reuben James. I'm a fourth generation farmer. We're in Salem Township, the lower end of Pasco County. The James Brothers Corporation was organized in 1958. We used to grow cabbage, but we donated more now. We grow irish potatoes, corn, soybeans, and wheat. My father and his two brothers started the business. They had another brother that was in the service, and when he got out of the service, he started farming with us. So there's four brothers. We used to have cattle. Some years ago we had mixed vegetables, but not anymore. Part of farming is having the right fertility. Some soils are acidic, so we put lime on. This is a lime that we have in storage so that when we get the crops off and get the samples back and we find out what the pH is, and then we apply the lime to get the pH that we want. What I'm really seeing for farming is the technology. It's certainly exciting to see that. It looks like farming is going to move along faster than it's been moving through the years, and that certainly makes it exciting. And the ones that keep up with that should be profitable.
We're at John E. Fairby Farming, and I'm Martha Fairby.
And I'm Susan Fairby Jennings.
And I'm Jeff Jennings. We manage and own John E. Fairby Farming in Camden, North Carolina.
This, of course, is a Central Farm family. Martha and Susan are the 8th generation, 7th generation, and our children are the 8th generation of the farm.
When our grandfather and father were farming together, they grew seed corn and sweet corn and green beans and a lot of different things than we grow now. And even for us, we've changed. We used to grow 2 crops of cabbage, a spring crop and a fall crop, and we all started growing broccoli. And we no longer grow those anymore.
Now our main crops are potatoes, corn, wheat, and soybeans. We are all table stock potatoes. We do reds, whites, and yellows. We do anything from a 3-pound bag to a 2,000-pound tote. We do creamers, B's, #1s, chefs, and that's all done from a technology standpoint. All the bagging is automated bagging.
Technology really and truly has come a long way, and it also makes us more sustainable, more environment friendly, helps us on our cost, and it does a lot of things for us, really. Paperwork has become quite a challenge. Really. The amount of paperwork and regulations that we now come under compared even to 15, 20 years ago.
I think what people don't understand is your inputs, buying your inputs, seed, fertilize, when to buy them at the right time to get the best price, the right things to buy. Marketing has become a big issue now because of the world demand for grain, but also other countries have, we've trained other countries to be as efficient from an agricultural standpoint as us, and you have to stay on top of it. It's just not something you look at once a month or once every 2 months, or people used to just look at selling grain when it was time to pick it. But as time evolved, they look at selling forward pricing grain, and now it's one of the marketing tools or one of the best tools you can have to make money with.
Our dad always said it's easier to go up, but you got to market. If you're going to go up, you got to be able to market. Yeah. If you can't market it, you haven't done anything. Growing's the easier part.
Agriculture is going to always be here because people are going to always eat. That's one industry that's going to it's going to survive, and it's going to have its ups and downs just like any other industry. The big obstacles in the future are going to be, you got to have sound management, you need good labor, and you need the weather to cooperate with you. And then you need that marketing strategy. And it's not just for this farm, but it's for every farm.
My name's Mikeriggs. I'm from Old Trap in the southern part of Camden County in the Shallow Township. The farm started with my great-grandfather Martin H. Herbert about 1914. And after following him was my great-granddaddy Charlie Sawyer Riggs and my father Warren E. Riggs. And in 1992 my father retired and I took over the farm from him. And my great-grandfather raised corn, wheat, beans, Irish potatoes, and cotton. And my great-grandfather did, and my grandfather did, and we raised cotton until the 70s, early 70s. We got our cotton business in the 70s. And now we just raise corn, wheat, and soybeans. And we used to have hogs and cattle. We got out of the cattle business in the mid-90s, and I had the hog business in the mid-80s. When I first started, what no cabs and tractors and nothing like that. Now you got the air conditions and all the electronics nowadays. You will cover more grain in less time with less equipment. Is what I see the biggest difference. I was 6 years old when I started driving tractors. I haven't stopped yet.
Good evening. Our farm is Williams Brothers Farms Incorporated. My name is Chad Williams, and my oldest brother Nick Williams. He and I bought my father out, who was William Franklin Williams Jr. Bought him out in the beginning of 2012 after he retired, and we primarily grow corn, wheat, and soybeans, and now have got into the rapeseed canola industry too.
My grandfather was a logger, and he owned farmland too, and it come up from that, and then my father logged a little bit, and then he started farming in about 1930. We were mainly grain farmers. We farmed corn, soybeans, wheat, oats. We raised hogs, we raised cattle. And in the old days, you know, everybody had the chickens. And the farming operation, we started about 26 years ago with strawberries. And we've got a picture of a strawberry field that, like I said, we've had it for 26 years. And that's been doing well for us.
Now we're into produce down in South Mills. We've been doing strawberries for 26 years. They now have other produce as well, watermelons and cantaloupes and whatnot. Bakery, yeah, that's your fiber. I kind of see the future. We've seen it change so much since my dad started, and when he got out farming with 4-row and 6-row equipment, and now farmers are picking 16-row and picking 45 foot, and now we have the auto steer with the mapping, and now they're pulling samples and stuff in designated areas, and just the changes in that, and the grain productions with the hybrids and all are definitely going up.
The future of agriculture is bright in the Albemarle area. Thanks to the strong farming legacy, a passion for agriculture, an adventurous spirit, a desire to learn, and well-established agricultural support systems, farming in the Albemarle is here to stay.